Hello and welcome to another episode of MSP Compliance Chronicle. Today we're going to talk about CIS control framework and how it affects MSPs. I want to join Wayne Hunter from Aftec Solution. Hey Wayne,
Hey, buddy. How's it going, man?
good. Miss you.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to see you next time.
Yeah. It was a long time. Great to see you again. So how things are going to you? You're doing a
Uh,
lot
we're,
of busy with all the compliance framework with your clients, right?
oh, yeah. We're staying busy. Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So today we're going to talk a lot about CIS, about CIS framework and what MSP need to know about it, what they need to know about it, and how they can make actually money from it, from your perspective, and get some best practices from your own use. This will be awesome.
Okay. Sounds like
Sounds
fun.
good.
Oh, you
So,
even got slides we can work from.
oh
Look here. Look out.
yeah.
Look out. I know you didn't put these slides together, did you? They're too pretty.
Yeah, yeah. If you do, you should do best, right?
That's right.
Can
That's right.
can. That's awesome. So, Wayne, why compliance framework is so necessary today, especially CIS?
Well, everything that we're doing these days, because of
Mhm,
all the changes with the cyber issues that we've been dealing with the last couple of years,
mhm,
the amount of regulation changes that's happening. I deal with the finance market and I'm used to dealing with, heavy regulations and stuff of that nature. But even in that environment, compliance is becoming, it's not a once a year thing. It's an everyday thing now. Because you could get asked at any time, what does your current assessment look like? And if you're not on top of that and being understanding what's going on, understanding when the regulation changes that's going on, it's a beast these days. It's
mhm.
not like it used to be where you could just do it once and have it there and be ready. Things are changing too fast, so it's creating quite the burden on folks.
Right, right. I think even it's facing more when now all the liability with the managed service provider. The best way to force it is following some framework. But you can adhere it to what you're doing, to some guidelines, and you have something that proof that what you do is good, right? So
Yeah, I think it's important that the MSPs understand that you can't just start with your customer. You got to start with yourself first.
yeah.
Because whenever we sign a contract with any customer out there we're providing services for of any type, doesn't matter, we are signing up to shared responsibility,
Mhm.
which means shared liability. So if you're not first making sure of what your cyber posture is and your compliance posture is within your own business,
Yeah.
to me, I'm not sure how you can do it for a customer. To me, you can't because you're not understanding your relationship with them from that aspect. And so to me, everyone should be doing it for themselves first. Then, if you got a grasp on it and understand it, then you can actually do it for end clients.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. So today we're going to focus about CIS. What is CIS, Wayne?
Well, as you stated right here in these beautiful words right here, you answer the question for everybody. But to me, CIS, it's a framework of controls. And what does that mean? What
Mhm.
it's standards that CIS in their own way have gone out and been able to create a body of controls that define how we do things. What things should we have in place, whether it's from access controls
Mhm.
to identity to backup recovery to documentation? It's a set of control standards that you look at and it'll guide you through what you need to do to make sure you got the proper posture for maintaining information, for protecting information in your environment. That's really what it boils down to. Yes, there's CIS, there's other ones as well,
Hmm.
CIS, I would say, some people say, well, that sounds like NIST. Well, yeah, it does. There's a lot of overlap, right? You and I both know there's a lot of controls that overlap. What I tell people is CIS controls, to me, have a better layman's term of explanation and flow compared to the NIST, which is really, it's a good framework, but it's a little bit harder to understand. You got to do a little bit more homework to understand it. CIS has done an extremely good job at documenting and laying out these controls in a way that's easier to understand and also get the flow of.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so CIS is standing for uh, Center for Internet Security, which is a non-profit organization that helps to develop security best practices and benchmarks. There are tons of tools in the market that validate, and especially from the Linux environment and Windows, some tool that can verify that the devices is with the benchmark and configuration. Honestly, this is what kind of we do in Command in some way. Um, which is, yeah, it's totally more from all the frameworks in the market. I think it's the not the easiest, but it's one of the simple way to understand. So if you want to start following some framework, CIS, I think it's the best, because many other frameworks is mapping or overlapping within. Uh, we did all the cross mapping thing in Kamanja, and we saw that the most comprehensive covering, it's based on the CIS for all of them. So it's a good,
And
yeah.
I
Please
think
go ahead.
not only is good there, but even some of the most simple things that you get involved with are based off the CIS controls. You take it
Yep.
like cybersecurity insurance these days.
Yep.
The controls it's based off of is the CIS controls.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things there. Unless you're really getting a DoD or like me in finance, there's very specific things or critical infrastructure. A lot of those will map to the NIST framework, but all of them you can layer over the CIS and have an excellent set of standards. To me, unless you're doing something that's very specifically called out to be a certain framework, I would start with the CIS framework. That would
Yeah,
be
you're,
my go-to start with.
yeah, totally agree with you. So, what are the benefits for CIS best practices from your perspective? So, you do a lot of CIS, and
Mhm.
I think thousands of companies. After the implementation, so not the general things. I just wondering to understand from you what you see, what how it's improved, because people all the time scary from compliance. Oh, I need to do compliance. It's too scary. It's not a sexy thing. No one would not want to do that. So companies need to do this. Period.
Mhm.
The question
Mhm.
is, what are the benefit? What are the benefits for doing this?
Well, besides making sure you meet compliancy, so you're not falling into the civil penalties or other regulation fines,
Mhm.
depending on where you're on. It's every day we talk about someone's gotten hacked, right?
Yeah.
Someone's got infiltrated. Well, when we talk about security posture, there's two things we got to make sure we understand. There's cybersecurity and there's compliance.
Yeah.
They're both not the same thing. And a lot of people confuse that. They
Yeah.
think cybersecurity is compliance, and it's not. I can have cybersecurity and not have compliance, but I can't have compliance without cybersecurity, is how I describe it.
Yeah.
Because cybersecurity, when you're setting that posture up, it's what am I deploying? How am I deploying? How am I
Yeah.
updating? How am I patching? How am I doing this? What are my standard operating procedures to often do that and make sure that's in place? That's the tactical part of it. That's what you're
Yeah.
doing. All right. The compliance piece is making sure you document and follow procedures. You're updating your employees, make sure that employees are understanding what's going on
Mhm.
and being able to make sure that they're using the tool sets the proper way to be compliant, to be secure. Okay. So compliance is all about the documentation and the procedures, whereas the posture of cybersecurity is all about the tactical operations to catch the 0 day, to stop the event, being able to make sure you know when and if someone comes into the environment and shouldn't be. All right. So
Yeah.
that to me is a very big distinction that you have to understand. And so,
Yeah.
enhanced in compliance and regulate with regulations, yeah, what we're seeing today is we're having to be better about compliance, especially so I mean, the most ones everybody knows about is like FTC safeguards, right?
Yes.
FTC safeguards come out and it's talking about how you got to protect, and that's for non-banking environments. That's really what it's focused at, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also even simple things from, do I have to be a big company to do this? No, you can actually, in the security summit of last August, they come out and said, even so, the FTC said sole proprietors all the way up to enterprise level companies, if you are handling any customer IRS data, then you got to be compliant and
Yeah.
have cybersecurity policy and have a written information security plan.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's very important for people to understand what those things are. And it does increase. If you go off and do these things as an MSP, we go put these in there, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
give your client a lot more trust because you're showing them how to protect themselves
Yes.
and how not to get in trouble. I got asked the question in one of the presentations I was doing was, well, we got the FTCs out there and you got the IRS 4557 out there. You got all these different things, but when are they going to audit us? Well, right now, they're probably not going to audit you because they ain't got enough time today. But the minute you get hacked and you report it, which by law you have to, then they're going, okay, did you apply the FTC safeguard rules? Did you
Yeah.
apply this? If you didn't, then they're just going to add right on top of it. So
Yeah.
it's important to understand those things and educate yourselves on it.
Right. Right. Yeah. Beside that, my opinion, also when you're doing, oh, I totally agree with compliance and security. It's two different things, and we're looking on it. The compliance it tells you, as you said, help you to choose the right tool that fit to your size to implement. Right, you can't buy all the security tools, but you need some guidelines to follow, and compliance give you that and helping you. And by doing that, you can again adhere to what you do, and we like to call it we like to call it in our company like the goal thing. So the company, someone asks you, okay, which what do you do for compliance? So you just, oh, I follow CIS controls. This is the control we already covered. What does it mean that we do one, two, three, four? Easy. So it's building a lot of trust. It's helping from self perspective as well. So
Mhm.
yeah,
It's easy to say, not necessarily always easy to do.
yeah, yes it is. Yes it is. You need to have a lot of work for implementing those stuffs, and compliance is a journey. All the time saying it, compliance is a journey that never ends. It's not only to implement; it's also right after maintain those things. And if something
Exactly.
happen, in total compliance, when you talk about it, it's managing risks at the end, right? So you need to
It's
show. Yeah, sorry.
I like to call it mitigating risk.
Yeah, mitigating risk. So you need to show all that. How do you improve from quarter, year? Doesn't matter. You need to show improvement and how do you mitigate those risks. This is all about, and it's help you building a lot of trust, helping building a lot how to handle breach attacks if they are. This will not happen to no one, yes, but if it will, so you can simulate. You have a workflow, which is awesome. Yeah.
We always say it's not if, it's when.
Yes, it is. So, can you talk a little bit more about the control, Wayne?
Yeah,
What are the CIS controls in general? How do you think that it's mapped? How do you think it's split into groups? And from your perspective and your experience, how do you think it works?
well, you're given a list of controls, and it's just an overview of the controls. And if you really
Yeah.
pay attention to what you're seeing here, I mean, and not to read every line there, but I think what I'd like to is really get people to understand is everybody that's listening, I don't care what kind of industry you're in, there's a set of controls that's going to apply to you no matter who you are. Just take cybersecurity insurance. There's 6 basic areas they're going to cover, right? You got access control. That's your multi-factor authentication that they're going to come into. You got here control of assets and software, having a list of all your hardware and all that. That's standard. You're going to have that so you can determine vulnerability, but they want also in the documentation of it. All of these things, and a lot of folks will understand these things, but I think the area and one of the control areas that people really fall down on and get hit with is when it comes into change management.
Yes.
And we don't list, it's not necessarily listed in this list here, but to me, I think it's one that's overlooked. And it's the first one that creates the most problem for a lot of the clients because I've got change control. Okay. So what's your process? If this person's not there, who can approve it? Oh, it's easy to create a hole into it. Some of it we really expect, I've got to protect about malware defenses, EDR, MDR. I got ongoing monitoring, things of that nature coming into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think where people really drop and they think about the controls is, hey, passwords and MFA, everybody harps on that. When we talk about data backup, I think that's the other area where the biggest thing we've been seeing out there that's people not real sure about is when the mention of immutable storage is mentioned. And a lot of people think that encryption, I got data encryption, therefore I got immutable storage. And they're not the same thing. I get hit with that question all the time. To me, all controls that apply to you are important because any one control I don't meet and I'm supposed to puts me at a disadvantage. So
Yes.
one of the things I tell people is, okay, instead of looking at every one of the controls, let's sit back and see what applies to my business, what information am I handling, then determine what controls or a set of standards meets me. What's the framework I need to follow? Then I can determine the controls and how they apply because in not all areas, all the controls are followed. Some only take a subset of controls. So it's hard to say which ones are the most important for someone unless you understand what your business is and how it applies to you.
Yeah. So when you're saying that, you mean, I guess, for the gap analysis, you first of all need to understand who's your client, what they do, how do they handle, ask some question, and then you can tailor make the compliance for his needs. So maybe they don't need all the CIS because something are not relevant for them, but maybe some specific control are more relevant, and this is one they need to focus to improve their security infrastructure, right?
Well, even, that's true. And I agree with that. I think another thing that we see, because I ended up dealing with larger companies as well, is I can look at a CPA firm that has, 20, 30 people in it. They do, $5-6 million worth of business. There's a set of controls that's going to follow to them. If I'm dealing with a $20+ million business,
Mm-hmm.
those controls are also going to apply to them, but the $20+ million business is probably going to have a lot more controls they have to handle than the smaller business does, just because the scale of the business and all the things they're going to interface to that the smaller one doesn't interface to.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times that's overlooked to coming into that. What is the scale and how does these controls scale based on how your business scales?
Mm-hmm.
When you start, it doesn't mean, like you said, it never ends. Well, it's kind of like backup recovery, and people will relate to this. When I start backing up my data, and you set up backup, and you say, hey, set it and forget it. Well, you really can't, because as your environment changes, so does your data requirements.
Yes.
Same thing applies to your controls. Your business as it scales, your controls are going to scale. You've got to understand that, or have someone that can help you understand it.
Yep. Absolutely. So This is another amazing point because we understand it. We understand now what is CIS, why does it need it, what are the control. So now you as an MSP, how do you integrate it to your services? How MSP can adapt CIS quickly to their infrastructure to start offering it?
Well, there's two things here.
Mhm.
One, you need to do it for yourself before you do it for anybody else.
Most important thing.
Most important thing, to protect yourself. Make sure you got the things
Absolutely.
in place, you're doing it just for the simple fact, like I was stating earlier, is we inherit responsibility. We inherit liability every time we actually take on a contract with a customer and start managing their environment. So first thing we do is make sure our backyards are clean. We got the right controls in place. We got the proper cybersecurity posture in place. Okay.
Mhm.
And part of that is you get set up, but have a third party. Be, a friendly, another friendly MSP that does it, has the ability to do it, or someone that that can come in and assess you that's third party. Because if you just assess yourself, it's not good enough. You need to have a third party that has no skin in the game on you, assess you, and give you that POAM, as they call it, plan of action and milestone, so you know where you sit. To me, I think that's crucial. Okay.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to understand better what you're doing when you're helping those clients. And you should offer these things. What I think is crucial is if you're doing it for a client that they have audit requirements. To me, you have to make sure if you're doing the MSP work for them, if you're doing the help desk, you're doing the monitoring of the cyber tools, you're doing the help desk, you're doing the server management, the patching, all that. If you're going to do this type of service for them, as I call it, compliance service, then you need a different set of folks in your business
Mhm.
that does that. And they're not the same ones that do the fixes. Because if you do, you're actually, the auditors won't play game there. It doesn't work. So that's not to scare anybody from doing it. I think you should be offering this because if you
Mhm.
can, it is great revenue. It also puts you above the majority out there.
Yeah.
So you're viable. So if you're going to do this, invest in that CISO, invest in a team underneath them as you scale. And you can do that by also partnering and subbing others to help you, has the resources to help you build that practice. So you don't have to start and just build the whole thing from scratch.
Mhm.
You can actually work with others. If you don't want to tackle that business, there's others out there that'll do a JV with you, a JV partnership, joint
Mhm.
venture, and be able to do these things. And now you're maintaining your client and helping
Yeah.
them. So to me, I think this is crucial for MSPs to really do and know and be able to go out there. Because if you don't, the client's going to go looking for it.
Mhm.
I don't have to go look for it. Your clients are going to go look for this to find somebody that can do it for them.
Yeah.
So you want to control that. Even if you're not the one doing it, JV with someone and bring in, because right now you're the trusted partner for them. Bring it to bear for them. Partner up and do it. I think that's crucial.
Yeah. This is a great point because I had a discussion this week with some folk that we both know, and the idea is that MSP have biggest penetration to the small medium businesses, right? And you already sell them something. You're already in their house.
Yep.
Once you have the right ability to present yourself as a thought leader, or even not a thought leader, single source of knowledge for their uh, security, technology, compliance, infrastructure, they all the time asking you question. It's better you to get this deal instead of on refer it or move it to someone else because when this and when they connect it to someone else, they can lead to other things to move out. So you want to stick everything in your house, and you
Right.
yeah, and you must have the
Exactly.
possibility. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, you're absolutely right. And I think the important thing here, and you look at the things that we're listing here, security and awareness training. You don't have to do compliance to do that. What we're saying is you want that in place. You're selling that to them. All we're going to do from a compliance standpoint, are you doing that? Is it documented? Is there a process so when you onboard a user employee how they get into this, have they taken it, do you have the sign off on it, do you have the evidence information showing that's happening? That's what compliance is doing. You're already selling that to them.
Yeah.
You can help them write the incident response plan. You can
Yeah.
do that. All these things you see right here, you can do and not be selling compliance.
Yeah.
But if I'm coming in and doing the compliance preparedness assessment, those are the things I'm going to look for.
Yeah.
Are they being done? Okay, they're being done. Are they documented? Is that meeting all the controls that they need to meet in
Mm-hmm.
the evidence files? Because what you come with that, the auditor comes in, they go, show me that you're doing this.
Yeah.
Right. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're not, do you have a plan of action to go off and do it? So you don't have to
Yes.
do compliance to sell this. You should already have these things in place, and compliance comes in behind it.
You're right. You're right. Even you don't need to talk about compliance. If you start, about small things around security, say most of the breaches come from the employees. Perfect. Let's start with a small training and awareness process to your clients. Without even talking about compliance, just talk about the risk. We realize that this is helped the most for MSP to sell. Talk about the risk. No one don't care that they don't have multi-factor authentication. What they do care, it's the result if they don't have this, right? It's like if that's the idea. So most of the breaches came from employees. You must training and awareness, even starting small pieces, right? Put your foot in the door, right? Easy. So it must be step by step until you become a single source of knowledge for them, and then everything else will come. It's a journey again. It's a journey, and all about education. How did you educate it? Send them some monthly newsletter about compliance, what are the fines, something like that, that help them to understand what do you do. From my opinion, it's all starting from education. This is how you can integrate it in part of your MSP offering. Say, don't talk even that you do right now compliance. Just say, okay, this is the new compliance. You need to know more about it. Perfect. Let's talk. Start with simple steps.
Mm-hmm.
It helps a lot. We see it every day, how it's happened. So don't not
Well,
yeah.
every one of those bullets you got there right now,
Sorry.
every one of the bullets that are on this slide right now,
Yeah.
I just feel, your cybersecurity insurance questionnaire is going to ask every one of
Uh
those things. Do
yeah.
you have that in
There you
place?
go. There you
And
go.
that's just a sample of what the insurance, some of the stuff I'm seeing asked for. So even that's a form of compliance. The
Mhm.
cybersecurity insurance underwriters are determining, are you in compliance with what our policy requires
Mhm.
for us to take on the risk of writing the insurance policy? So
Yes.
that's a form of compliance. You're doing it, you just don't realize you're doing it.
You're right. 100%. Awesome. So compliance and regulatory requirements.
Mhm.
I think we talked about it. You mentioned it about all the cross mapping and all of those
Yep.
things. So you did it well.
Well, and the
Uh,
thing about it here,
yeah.
most people, they hear about HIPAA and they go, in which to me, anybody in compliance will tell you, HIPAA set a bad precedent because it was generated 30 some odd years ago,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And they never really put any teeth to it. No, it never really even got any teeth until they had the whistleblower statute with it, right?
Mhm.
But what we're seeing today, that's why we're saying avoiding costly fines, is the difference today over the last 2-3 years because of all the different losses that insurance companies paid out, the level of hacks that's been happening and things of that nature. Now, insurance companies, uh, industry, regulations, states are coming out with their own cyber regulations and
Yes.
controls that you need to have in place. Crazy how fast they're coming out, right?
Mhm.
So those are things you got to educate yourself on. It. It's not just a GDPR or the HIPAA or the ISO 27001. It is what in your specific industry do you have to do? Are you a critical infrastructure? Okay, there's very specific things you got to meet for critical infrastructure, and there's those regulations and fines if you don't. The biggest ones is really affecting a lot of folks is that has to do with the FTC safeguards, as we talked about earlier. First, people were thinking, "Oh, that just ain't that just a car dealership thing?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, that just happens to be one of the industries getting hit with it. It applies to any non-banking type of environment. If you go look, it really spells it out. But now IRS rules are changing every time we turn around, all this. So you got to really be up on the standards that affect your business.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a couple of projects that we're about to start right now. And even with those, very rarely do we find less than 3 standards that we're going to apply to a customer of set of controls. It's
Mm-hmm.
one not where you just picking one and that's all you got to go do. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that way. You're gonna have multiple. You just got to understand which ones they are.
Yes. No, totally agree. Totally agree.
Oh, and hi, Travis. I see your note there, buddy.
Oh, Travis. You talk about important distinctions when you mentioned before. That's awesome. So, challenges and mitigation. So
Hmm.
it's all not pink, right?
Oh, it's all
So,
simple, man. Everybody wants to do it, right? It sounds fun, right? But it's not. I mean, we're all busy. Everybody's busy, and they got all the
yeah.
things. You're trying to do business, and you're trying to go through and make a living.
Hmm.
But yeah, a lot of clients resistant change just because it's never really been required before.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm really starting to see that change a little bit, to be honest with you, Shay.
Really?
Uh, because I get phone calls from sole proprietor CPA firms,
Hmm.
CPA companies now, to larger ones going, "Hey, I received this letter. I saw your presentation on this. What do we need to do to get our steps moving forward
Hmm.
to get on the compliance road, to get into where we're meeting our requirements?" So we're actually hearing where people are opening up and they're understanding more because they're educating themselves on what's
Yes.
going on. They're really starting to listen and educate and ask the right questions, which
Hmm.
is not asking a question at all is the worst question you ever can ask.
Hmm.
Ask any question if it helps
Hmm.
you learn what you need to be doing. So I'm actually pretty positive on what I've been seeing here the last 6 to 12 months is clients are engaging on it. Whereas before it was like telling that wall to move. Might
Hmm.
as well just not waste your breath because it
Yes.
was always resistant because they had no reason to change. But I think it's a
Yes.
lot different today.
Yes. Again, I think people more and more understand now that they need to do compliance this way or another, right?
Mhm.
And most of the challenges, it's like, but as we saw it, it's also education, but also the implementation, understanding by understanding the processes. So where do I start? Where do I end? What I need to do in the middle? Okay, how do I understand the legal context? Because it's most of the compliance reading on legal jargon, right? How do I understand it? How do I start and how do I implement?
That's one of the things
Um,
we try to focus on is because of the complexity, because there is
mhm.
complexity,
Yes.
and we're not doing this by hand. We have a set of tools that's got AI, that's got things into it, that's got the process, and we're able to go and pull updates when we need to and do these things. But the process is it can be arduous,
Hmm.
but our goal is to take this whole process and simplify it by educating on the front end and all the way
Yeah.
through. So we can do one or two things. Yeah, we can do the project. We can help people get there and show them what was done and generate the data and all this and put it into it so you see what goes on. But what we're finding most of the time is people want help maintain it because today is not the day where you used to be able to do it once and then wait 12 months and do it again.
And
Business
we
has
go,
changed too much.
and you're right. And we go through it on the next few flights about how to selling it properly and when it's going to pricing it
Right.
because
So you got to
yeah,
have this, you got to figure out the process and understand
yeah,
those steps. And when it comes to compliance, to me, one of the things I like about the compliance, being a process freak, is I do the same process every time.
hmm,
The complexity changes depending on how a company is set up and what controls they have to meet,
yeah,
what documentation requirements they got to meet. Do they have CUI information, control unclassified information, whether it be
yeah,
critical infrastructure or DoD or whatever it may be?
yeah.
So the process is there and you can understand them, but it's the complexity of the information change. That's the crux of it, for me anyway.
Hmm. Yes. Cool. So this is our last slide.
Oh, that's okay. We can talk to
Yeah,
it. Not a big deal.
yeah. Selling CIS to clients.
Mhm.
So I think it's also how to pricing it because don't try to make it as a one project thing because compliance is a journey and you need to do it as a recurring thing and have the platform that give you the ability of doing so. Doing recurring revenue and stickiness with your client is important thing because this is how you grow your revenue and it is important for you. Yeah, go ahead.
I think one of the things in doing this is you'll have companies that want you to do clients that want you to do a project and they go off and do it. And they look at it and then they say, okay, hand me the stuff and then we'll do it again next year.
Hmm.
Okay. You're going to run into that because that's the way it was always done. Okay. But the advantage here is you do that project, which is costly, take some resource, take some man hours to do this, depending on the size of the,
Yeah,
environment. We're fixing to do a project that's got 3 sites, over 1,000 devices per site.
yeah,
That's pretty good size environments that we got to go off and do. But once you get this and you got the right tool sets to do this and ongoing with it, now you can provide a service to them that is cheaper than doing the project every year.
yes,
And it's excellent margin business.
yeah,
What you're going to do. And you're
yeah,
providing them a service that if they tried to hire, think about this. How hard is it for us to hire people today? Answer that one question. Hard, right? Trying to get qualified people and maintaining qualified people is hard. The clients have the same problem, okay?
yes,
And they don't have the economy of scale sometimes of how we train and what we do. So it's very important you understand how you go and really position this value. It's not a widget, it's not a product that you're selling in, it's a valuable resource that you're putting in place for them and maintain that. So if you're
yeah,
looking at going ongoing monthly vulnerability scanning, reporting, providing them a dashboard to where they can see if they're in compliance or out of compliance all the time. The reason why that's important today, and you want to be able to do that, is because it's the vendor to vendor, the B2B. I'm having people call me. This is one of my favorite. I actually had an underwriter company call me, ask me if I could do their assessment because their client, an insurance broker, was asking them for their assessment.
yes,
Okay. Now, it's the underwriters normally asking for that information from the end users, but now they're being asked about their own. Okay. So those are things you can drive value. The sale's there, but you got to do it as a value-based sale. This is, to me, a value-based sale all day, every day. Because what you're going to provide them for a number, they can't do themselves. By the time
yes,
they put all the tools in, put the people on, and keep those people, being since those people have to be separate, if they really, from a true audit standpoint of the people doing the fixes, how many of you know that you have, I know even banks that don't even have staff to do that.
yeah,
And that's the reason why they've gotten fined billions of dollars for non-compliance
Yes, you're right.
for that reason alone. So you can give them cost savings. You can give them economy of scale. You can give them a repeatable solution that they can use every day, not once a year.
Yes.
So to me, that's the important piece to it.
Mhm. There is another thing that MSP, once they do compliance, they can do a lot of upsells. If
Oh
they're
yeah.
if before their client don't wanted to buy an ETR or buying some package of security training and awareness stuff and those things, compliance it now can run from it because you wanted to follow CIS, amazing. This is what it's need to be done, so you can do more and more upsells around
It's
it.
even better than it's what the beautiful part of that is yes, you're telling them, but all you're doing is repeating what either the industry or the government or those folks that are saying they must have it in place. You're not telling them
Yeah, you're repeating
their
what the
own
process. Yeah.
environment, whether they, if they're in the energy business, well, critical infrastructure says you'll follow FERC and you'll do
Yeah.
FERC and be do it. If you're finance, you will do these things. You're, whatever it may be, you've got to follow this. All you're
Yes.
doing now is helping them to get there.
You're right.
And
Totally
that's the
right.
important piece. So do it from an education. It's always what's worked for us
Education.
is doing it for, like you said, educational,
Yeah.
educate them. That automatically puts you as that trusted advisor because you're taking the time not to sell them, you're educating them. Education is the
Yes.
best selling tool you have.
Yeah. And you're already there, so it's easy. You're already
Exactly.
there. You're already selling them. You don't want them to go to the internet and search for someone else doing this. You have the possibility to take this revenue. So and do after it a lot of more upsells. It's amazing.
Yeah, totally agree.
Mhm. Thank you.
Man, that went fast.
Yeah, we're running. We have 45 minutes. It was amazing. We have 3 minutes more to wrap up those things and summarize everything. I think we had a great discussion. We talked a lot about the CIS and all the your experience that you have. It's amazing. It's amazing what you bring to the table, uh, and all the use cases that you're facing with. That's really impressive. I hope everyone learned from this session and learned from you. We have there a lot of good keynotes and a lot of things that MSP can use them and start running out, starting implementing CIS, and even how to sell to their clients. What do you think, Wayne?
Oh, they should do it every day. If nothing else, yeah, you can make really good money doing this, but
Hmm.
nothing else. If you get anything out of it, please do it for yourself because it's going to help you with your business.
Yeah,
And you'll be amazed what you learn by going through it.
yeah.
It is worth the exercise.
It's also improved the liability, the security infrastructure for the liability with the clients when it will came soon. What's going to come
Yep.
soon? Sorry.
Yep.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you very much, Wayne. I'm very enjoyed. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah. And I might, have to come over and we go to that party thing you said in Tel Aviv. Man, we might have to try that. I don't know if I can keep up with you or not, but I'll give it a shot.
No, you will, you will. I'm not worried. You're younger than me, my friend. That's fine.
I
I'm too
don't know
old
about that.
already.
I might have to pull out my old Navy days. We'll see if we can hang.
There you go. We should, man. We should. Awesome,
Man,
Wayne.
I
Thank you
enjoyed it.
very much.
I appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you. Bye, guys. See you next time.